Welcome everyone. Welcome back. I got a confession to make. In the previous tutorial, uh, I listened to it while editing the video, and I noticed that over time the music or the quality kind of went back, which is funny. I wanted to share this because it just shows how easy it is to, you know, lose track of how things sound. Because I thought it was pretty okay, but after listening to it more carefully, I noticed the bass was a bit off. It is because I made a new bass, a new kick while explaining, so I didn't really put that much detail and attention in it. So it sounded better before, but when you listen closely, that the kick is actually much less present than this one is actually good because now it doesn't clash. It kind of has more space in the mix. Now watch. See that bass? It kind of just and it just muddies up the rest. So this bass was just a bit cleaner. It's not even on. It's a bit better. So I want to share that just to show you that it's very easy to fuck up. It's good to have breaks, and it's good to A-B it back and forth, as I do it. If you want to improve something, sometimes just copy it and then, mess with it and then listen to the original again, how that sounded. Oftentimes you'll realize, like, shit, the original was better. It's not always a linear line upwards. Actually, it's normally not. It's your good tries is normally your best. That's right. Let's get into the snare. The snare, I I use the sample. I normally don't record my own percussion. I sometimes mess around with the mic, make little thingies, but this is more extra and a bit more effecty. The standard stuff of snare and percussion, I normally take like 909, 808 package things, but really any sample I can find online or buy, like anything. Uh, yeah, it's all good to go. So I got this one. I think it's a 909-ish snare. Probably found it in 909. I really like it because it's kind of digitally, it's like that. And it has like a good bottom and a good top. So that really, let me get the trusty spawn. And now we can see, it has some bottom. It's already like, if I turn all this off, this is the EQ. It has bottom. It has a little Batman as well, like right here. But beside Batman, we also have a lot of highs, and then the bottom, or the mid, sorry, and then the bottom. The bottom I obviously cut out most, but I kept some, and that really adds a little bit. Then I made some white noise really high, as you can see, and that literally is just if you take an operator and you filter out the lower frequencies. You don't need them. You don't need an envelope in this, actually. You could turn that off, like it's not working, so that's good. Then you turn it on white noise, and it's going to be really loud. Then you already have some thinking, and then you can shape the sound with the envelope, so it becomes more like a percussive thing. Now, after messing a lot with it, I kind of came up with this sound. The other one that I made before sounded more hi-hatty. I sometimes use it for that as well, and here I use it more for like, it's more like a snare sound. It's like it's, and the reason I do this is that it is really high. It's really just sitting here, so that really adds on top, and especially with the things you want to be very much in the high regions like percussion and snare. You put them there, and that rhymes. Well, then I took some low. This is the same thing, except this time I took a, a sine wave, like how you do it with the kick actually. Just had it on one frequency though, and then did the same thing. Basically, just turned it more into a percussive element. We have to make sure with this one that it's in the right key. If it's not, it's not. It can phase. With the noise, you don't have to worry. It's atonal, so it doesn't have a key, basically. So it's all the key at the same time and not. Yeah, great stuff. Anyway, so added then some EQ and all that stuff to really up it at the right. Uh, Basically, that it turned into this kind of sound. Um, Let me return this. Maybe I can recreate it a bit. With phasing here, I wasn't too concerned. Just a little bit. But yeah, basically upped it like this and then cut off all the highs. And then I add a little bit of overdrive to fuzzy it up to, make sure that there's also less cause of phasing because it's not so really one specific frequency, and then shaped it even further into creating really nice kind of punchy sound. See, something like that. Um, you gotta just fiddle and use some maybe compression you can use on it, and then I created a bottom part. So I have a high, a bottom, as you can see here, high, bottom, and a kind of overall. And then I have another one, but that one's reverse, quite soft, and I think it's ping ponging. No, it's not, but it would be a nice trick, ping ponging a bit, or and have a very soft that makes sure that it's not overpowered or overpowering the rest. Like, just it's there, but it's barely there, but there enough. So after layering my all of the little samples I made, I got up with this. The low is not even here yet for some reason. It's supposed to be. So, and then you can hear it all together. That low is a bit too present, I think. So I'm gonna pull it down a little bit. And then another thing I want to do is push it back the tiniest bit, so it kind of hits just before. As you can see, this one hits also a little bit before, and that just kind of makes sure that that initial sound with the cake or the hats or something, that it doesn't hit at the same time, so it kind of hits just after or before it, but this one is smack dab on it. It's just a bit fiddling, really. Actually, I like it better like this. And then, again, Saturn, it just works to fuzz it up. Trash, especially on hats and stuff, this stuff is really cool. In this case, I used a drive rather than, I think I used saturate on the kick and bass, and here I used the drive. Turn, just so it made it less snappy but more overall. So I wanted to have that snappiness. Um, I cued it, of course, a little bit. As you can see, I mostly reduced, not really added, except for this part. I still got rid of the higher parts because that's still really where the heads are sitting. So I kind of wanted to keep it free, and then the rest is, you know, the low. I don't need it, but as you can see, I don't even like cut it very high. There's still a lot of low present, just the right amount. It's kind of fiddling around, except for this dip, because I think that's that main snare that had like a quite a loud part there, and kind of conflicting with the, I think the kick or something it was. Just can see that one. So if I turn it off, here it's more present, right there, less present, so it's a bit more. So that's the reason why I did that. Overall, I lowered this a bit, so it has quite a lot of low. Actually, when I'm looking at it right now, but I probably did this also for a reason, just to mix it in. And then the high, it had a really high. But I noticed if I up it here a little bit and then let it round off, that very high is kind of faded off. It actually sounded louder and more present. So um, this is just a meter, nothing too important. Like doesn't change the sound. That's kind of what I did with the snare. Now there's still another white noise on top of it. This is panned left, right, and in the center, all with a little bit different settings to create a stereo effect. And this is basically to make the effect more wide sounding. Here's another one that I put on top of it. It causes basically like some flanging or phasing kind of style sound. So I added this. It's really nice from Sound Toys. Just sounds a bit wider that way. I still have the feeling that the snare is not present enough in the mix. Like it could still be more present, fortunately, but that's still fiddling around. So that's kind of how the snare is made now. Important things with the snare is that the transient needs to really be there. So if you look here at our mighty Exoscope, it has a good transient. And if I turn off this, kind of fades away. So like trash kind of made that fuzzy, just fatten it up, to be honest. And then with the compressor, I think, yeah, I used the compressor in this case. You can see I use the normal one because, I don't know, just for kicks and bass. I use the other one. I don't know why, just what I get used to. And I really used the short attack and quite short release with a medium ratio, like 3:1 is not low but not very high either. Oh. And then set the threshold that it fires quite a lot, like it reduces quite a lot. No makeup. I think either I did it by hand, yeah, because normally it makes it too loud if you have the makeup on, and I don't want it just to take the peaks. I want to take the whole signal and pushes that together. And I fiddle around while looking at this to create that nice, you can see loud, and then it just nicely fades out. Yeah, that kind of makes that snappy. Because if you don't really shape it that the beginning part is loud enough and you don't set the volume right, which in this case, if we look at the kick and bass, is pretty similar. The snare is actually a little bit louder, about a dB than the kick and bass, so it's actually a little bit louder, but it's just that very soft beginning, or a very loud beginning actually. That's important. It won't really pierce through the mix, and then with all these things, it's just to really set, or yeah, to make it more warmer, fatter, warmer, whatever. I said warmer twice. Whatever to make it sound better. You know, it's just saturated. It's up to you. You can use the standard plugin, saturator, even Redux. You have amp, you have overdrive. Uh, yeah, go wild. Find what suits you. Uh, I've looked for so many plugins in this. Some are better than others, but in general, distortion and overdrive, saturation, you're pretty safe. Don't go too wild on the EQ again. Like in this case, I actually slammed them all at the same EQ, probably because I was lazy. If you want to be a bit more detailed, you would have to go into all of them. Like I did it here, because this was a bit more of a problem one. But the other ones, I probably didn't. Here we go. No. And we looked at. No. And no. So you could make a little bit of improvement, but again, don't overdo it with EQ. It's not really necessary. It's just more finding the right sounds and processing in the right way that they sound coherent. Make sure that the snare, here it's one uh, what's the name again? At least it's tuned one up. Let's keep it at that. I don't know. I'm tired. I can't find the word. Semitone. That's it. One semitone. Yeah, just because it was just underneath it. Here you can too low. I was just thinking like could work. Also nice. And then with the percussion, kind of both were nice, to be honest. Like I'm not sure which one I prefer. In this, you could create, if you want to go really all out, you could like tune this to like a harmonic. So your kick you would tune to, I don't know, a seventh of C. So let me take this because I'm so bad at remembering keys and all that stuff. So we make a MIDI right here. Zoom in C. So we have C. Say you tune your kick to C, and then to make a chord, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up, and then another one at 5. Probably there. 5 something. I don't know. And then if this is a bit longer, it's gonna be very loud. So turn this down. Yeah. So that's not very. See, it's a chord. Yeah, a chord. So kick, bass, snare, or kick, bass, snare. Probably that way, because this is the fundamental. So your bass would be the fundamental, and then either this or this one is the kick or the snare. So then you all have them in harmony. I actually don't think I've ever tried. Maybe I did. I just know that some people do. I sometimes do it with the snare, that I set it like a fifth above it or something like that, or the kick is just falling in between, or sometimes it happens without really thinking about it. And then you create like a chord of your bass, and that can sound really nice. So very important for your snare is to pitch it correctly. So volume control, pitching it correctly, finding the right sounds, and making sure that it's wide. Like it's not only in the center, but it's also on the sides. Like here, you can see a little bit. This is to see basically your stereo spectrum. And here you can see it kind of looks like a vagina. Anyway, this is like left and right, and it's not in the center. Like if you look at the kick, it's all the way center. It's like center as you can be. This is the phasing part, so it's good it's not phasing. Um, but it's pretty wide. You could even maybe make it more wide. Um, and here you can see it's mostly bottom with some high end. It's a nice overall sound. It's like kind of like the kick that has all the bottom and then somewhere here, except it's here and then all the way in the top. Uh, you could probably spice this up even more. Like snares are so complicated and difficult to do, and I'm honestly not the greatest at them. But this is a good start. You could like try more layers or other saturation, and make it wider by using these effects of panning it left and right and center in a group, for example, like I did. Um, and you could, for example, use plugins to widen it. You could use. Uh, Normally, it's better just to have left, right with different variations of the sounds. Whatever works. Like you can make it even more, more better. So, all right, that's it for today. Um, I'm gonna continue later on percussion. After that, ambience and leads. Um, but we'll save that for the next time because this is already long enough. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching all this. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you next time.